Hello and welcome to yet another video of this series. And in today's video, we'll be talking about set theory. And in context, the set theory is nothing other than an application of mathematical set operators that is used to manipulate and combine a set of data together. The primary set of operators that we have in SQL are union, intersect, and except. The idea behind this is that we are able to use these operations to combine result sets. There's a lot of benefits in this particular operations. So one of the benefits or combination of these benefits is that we can combine data from multiple data sources. We can identify common elements in a particular data set. We can find the difference between a particular data set from another data set. We can use these data sets, combination of multiple data sets, and we can remove duplicates. It helps us also to simplify our queries. Also, the set operators can also help us to validate our data. It is good for logical clarity, and also it enhances data analysis. So let me take some of this benefit again. We can combine data from multiple data sets. We can identify common elements from our data. We can find the difference between two data sets. We can remove duplicates. We can simplify queries, data validation, clarity in our logic, and it enhances data analysis. So I'm going to jump into SQL and begin to break down most of these particular operators using specific questions that can help us understand these two. But before I go in fully, here is my SQL server, and here is my data sets and the questions that we will be looking into. But before I go into writing the code, it is important for us to understand that these three operations have different use. The union, we can use it to combine results from two data sets, but for the purpose of only returning distinct or unique rows from those data sets. Every duplicate in that particular result set will be eliminated. The intersect is used to retrieve records from common result sets and return the query. It will only return rows that are existing or that are present in both result sets. It has to belong to two of those result cells. The last one is the except. The except is just like a minus. It combines records from two result set, but excluding the second result information. So a result from one, excluding anything that is on the order report. So let's take a common example to walk through things and see how they work. The first thing I will do in answering this question is to use my data set, my database, which is the Paulins consort. And I will say go to pull this record. So if I run this code now, I am confident that yes, I am writing the code in the right place, and anybody who read my code will be able to understand what I am doing. So let's answer some couple questions. The first question that we have here is to retrieve the first name, the last name, and that are associated with both the patient and the providers. Before I write this code, let me take the time to tell us rules that we need to pay attention to. So one of the rules is that we have to ensure that the column names from all the result sets are equal. That is one rule. They have to be equal. And secondly, the data types from this result set should be compactable. So basically, I cannot take an int and stack it on top of an integer. I cannot take a float or a decimal number and put it on top of a string. And next, we need to also remember that the column names that display are the ones that appears on the first query. And the last rule is that no individual individual result set is allowed to have an order by. So the order by that will be in the final result should be on the very last result set. So let's keep these rules in mind. I'm going to display it as we go to answer the first question. The first thing that we have here is that we should return the first name and the last name that are associated to both the patient and the provider. So there are two tables here looking at it, patient and providers. So let's run the first name and last name from the patient table and get the first name and last name from the providers table. So I will come down here and I will write select star from DBO dot patients table, and I will run this code. And upon running it, I can see that I have a first name and last name. I will come down here now and I will call the first name, comma, the last name. And if I run the code, I can see that I have a first name and last name from the patients table. So I'll take the next step and write the select star from the DBO dot providers table. And if I run this code now, I will see that I have a first name and last name. So I will come down here. I only need the first name, comma, and the last name. And if I run this code now, I can see that I have the first name and the last name. But now, what they want me to do is that I should merge this query into one. So the first name, the last name that are associated to both the patient and the provider. I cannot run this code like this, because if I run it like this, they will give me two different results. You see one at the top and they can see another one at the bottom like this. But that is not what they want. They want it to be in one unified record. So I can come in the middle of this code and add a union. The union can unify records from two or more result set, but eliminate duplicate. So if I run this code now and check it, I can see now that I only have one result set. Now let me take this and run through these rules that we put at the top. The first rule said that columns from all the result set must be equal. So for example, if I come down here and on this patient name, I want to add one more column that will say, I think there's a date of birth in that particular table. So I can take the date of birth from this particular table. I can see that this column, the result set, have 3 rows, and this other result set have only 2 rows. So if I come down here now and run the entire thing, I can see that it blows up, telling me that all the queries that are combined using a union, intersect, or except must have equal number of columns for their expression. Rule number one checked out. So now we can take this date of birth off. I'll cut it because I want to use it to work on step number two. Now, on the number two, I want to check on seeing if the data type are not compatible. What will it do? So on the first query, I want to put date of birth as the second column, while this one is um, last name. If this last name is a string and this last name is a date, it will have a problem. So let's run it and see what happens. So if I run this code now, I have a problem. It tells me that the conversion failed when converting date and time from string, all because this is a different data type. So rule number two checked out. Now, the next thing I want to do, it says the columns that is displayed are the ones that appears in the first query. So now let me change this provider's name to, I'll put this guy as F name, and I'll put this one as L name. Now, if I have this like this, which column name will I see? Is it first underscore name, last underscore name, or will I see FLF name? So for example, if I run this, if I unify the record, will I see this first name and last name, or will I see this one? So that is where we want to test the rule number three. So if I unify this record and run it like this, I can see that the name that I saw is the first name underscore last name, the first underscore name and last underscore name, because it is what is appearing on the first name. I'm going to swap it and take this guy now. Take this guy now and place it here. And take this one now and replace it here. So now with this, let's see what appears. If I come down here and run it, I see the L name because that is what is appearing on the top. So rule number three checked out. The last thing I want to check for the rule is I want to check on no individual result is allowed to have an order by. If I come down here and place an order by here, order by first underscore name, the query will blow up because if I try to unify it, it tells me that there is an incorrect syntax on or before this particular information. So that means order by is not allowed. The order by will always appear on the last query. And if I do this, now I have the result. So that is me walking through the rules so that we can start working on order of our code. And to answer the question that they gave us, this is the answer. We could that. So far, so good. So let's move on to this next question that says, find a common address that are shared between the patient and the provider. We can see that we have a patient and a provider. So now what we need to do, we need to call the patient table first. I write select star from dbo.patient table. And I will write another query right away. I say select star from dbo.provider table. And once I do that, I can see that I have a select star, and on there I have information. But now the key thing here is that they wanted me to verify address. And if I run this patient table, I only see an address ID. I can use the ID, it's not a problem. So I think that is what we will probably do. And if I go to the provider table, I can see an address ID, which is here. So now we can try to see what we can do to figure this out. So I can come down here, I say address ID, because I have an address ID here. I can also come down on the provider table and add an address ID. And when I run it, when I run this guy, I have address ID as a single column. And I come down here, I check this guy, I have an address ID as a single column. Now the goal here is that they want to see something that is common between the two. And to check for things that are common between two result set, we use the word intersect. And once I put the intersect, I am looking for something that exists in this guy and also exists in this guy. So if I run this guy to see if anything exists, and I can see that it returns a 0 record, meaning there is no result, there is no address that is shared between patient and provider. Probably kind of makes sense, depends on the situation. Now, let's move on to the next one. The next question said we should list the addresses that are associated with patients but not with the provider. Addresses that are associated with patients but not with the provider. I already have a patient and an address result. I can copy this guy and put it here, but I have to take this guy off. But remember, it says I should list the list of addresses that are associated with patients but not with provider. To get something like this, we have an information called except. The except is just like you calling a particular number minus another number. So I have $20. I spent $5 out of the $20. I will have 15 left. So that means it is my $20 except my $5. So with that, if I have a patient and I want to exclude the provider's address, I can come down here and call the guy that is called except. So what is he going to do? It will return the patient address, but exclude anyone that exists inside of the patient that belong to the provider. So if I run this code now and run it, it will only return the patient's address and not the provider. And all the rules that we talked about applies to this information. So far, so good. Now we have a little complicated, not complicated, but now we're going to add another result set. And this result set is looking for us, this question is looking for us to return, to union all the addresses that are associated with the patients, the medical staffs, and the providers. The good thing is that we have the patient and the provider. So I can come down here, I'll take this guy off. And then the next thing, they want me to get the medical staff. So call DBO dot medical staffs. And if I run this medical staff record, I can see also that I don't have an address ID. So there is no address. Let's take a look at it carefully. Is this no? Oh, this is history. Sorry, medical staff. Oh, I choose the wrong table. So I can see that I have an address ID. So now I want to unify all the records together. So in doing this, I will have to first of all call the address ID from the medical staff table. Now they want me to get all this information as one result. I cannot have it like this because these are three results. So I can come in between here and put the union on this one, and I come on the last one and put the union. So I can combine multiple result set into one and return it as a result. So this unify this and this one unify this. And if I run all the results set, I can get all this information. We can do something a little bit fancy beyond this. So let me copy this guy and come down here and paste it. I want to put a tagline, like an indicator that this particular guy comes from the patient table. I can come down here and put a single quote and I say patient, patient, and put this. And I can do the same thing for this and call it provider. And I can come to this guy and do this and say staff, for example. And when I do that and I check it, I can now see an indicator of where each people comes from. You can see this address is from staff, this address is from the patient, this address is from the provider, something like this. I can, at the end of the day, give this last one a name. I call it, I can just call it a label, something like that. Call it a label. And if I come down now and run the code, I can see now I have a column name and it is just called label. Now we know which one belongs to where. So that is how it works. Cool stuff. So let's take the next question and run this video up. And the next question is, we want to retrieve all unique address, all unique addresses that are associated with the patient, medical staff, and providers. But they want us to exclude the patients who have appointment status as completed. Again, we want to get the unique addresses for the patients, medical staff, and providers. But we want to exclude patients who have appointments status as completed. So the first thing we need to do is to get this half of this code, because we already have this half in the previous problem, which I can copy to make life fairly easy. I can copy it here, this record. I can copy it and paste it here. Now, the next thing is for me to get this half of the code. It said patients who have appointment status as completed. So if I come down here, I can easily find out the patients who have appointment as completed. So I can come down here, I say, give me select star from, I will go to DBO dot patients. And if I run this patient, I can see that I have the address ID. But then I have to come down and run, let me run the appointment, select star from appointments table, DBO, DBO dot appointments table, and I run this guy. No, I always click this new query. Get out of here. So I can run this guy. Now I see patient ID, so I can join to patient ID. So if I come down here, I say join appointment ID. I can take this guy off, not to have too many things littering around. I can come down here. I have to give my table a name. I can give this guy PAT, and I can give this guy APP. Then I want to join it on PAT dot patient ID and equal APP dot patient ID. And if I run it, these are all the patients. But what I am interested in is where the status is completed, this guy. So I can come down here and say where the status equal completed. And if I run it, I can see that it gives me 10 rows. So let's see the magic of what is going to happen. It gives me 10 rows. Remember, when I run this guy by itself, this one gives me 70 rows. 70 rows. Now I want to unify this, but again, I need the address ID. Just address ID. I have, is it 70 or 170? Sorry, let me run it back again. I think I did. It's 170 rows, not 70. 170 rows. Now we want to run this. This is a unified record. We want to check. The question said, get the unique address, which we have gotten in this guy. And now it said exclude. This exclude is a clue that we need to bring the except for those patients who the appointment status is completed. So now I can come down here. I will group this guy into one because this is one record. Why did I group it? If I don't group it, this, remember the whole board math kind of thing. If I don't group it, this, whatever thing I'm doing might be thinking I am only working with this guy, this last query. So what we do, we change it and look at it in grouping. So when we group it like that, I come down at the bottom and now put the except. And when I do that, what is going on? Yeah, that's fine. Nothing. It's just other things that is going on at the top. So the query will still run. Is to solve this problem. If this guy runs for sure, that we don't have a problem with this guy, which we don't, we can come down here and put a go to terminate a batch. And once we do, everything is good and dandy. So what did I do? When I did not put, it is always a good practice to put your query to terminate each batch. So now I am having this issue because I did not terminate this batch and I have another thing. So they're seeing themselves as one batch. So I can come down here and put a go. Remember, this guy is also having a problem. Let me take this off. This guy is also having a problem. And if I hover around it, it said there is incorrect syntax around this guy. To solve this problem, I can just come here, put a go. And once I do, everybody is happy. And when I do that, let me run this entire code now one more time. When I run the code with everything that I have, I can see it completed and give me 169 rows. Probably there is a field in here that is commonly referred from this guy. So it removed 9 rows from 170 to 169. And this is how we work with set operators, where we have talked about the union and the union and except and the intersect. But to the union, there is also another one called union all. The union all behave exactly or identical to the union, but the union all will not eliminate duplicate, while the union will eliminate duplicate. So for example, if I take this guy here, it may not occur, but we'll see. I can put another thing called all here and also another thing called all here. And if I run it, if there is any duplicate kind of field, it will return it. But for now, our result set do not meet that condition. But the union all will return duplicate if there is any, but the union will not return duplicate, it will eliminate it. So I will take this code off, and this is the end of the video. I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving and encourage you to please like the video, encourage me in this mission. Our next video that will be coming out will be derived table, and we'll go there and we'll keep tweaking our code and learning more SQL codes. And don't forget to like the video, click on the notification button, and subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate you and thank you very much. And Happy Thanksgiving. Bye bye.